My name is Dorothy, and I'm 26 years old. I work as a maid, and my life feels like it's falling apart. I'm engaged to a man named Harold, who makes every day harder than it needs to be, but I can't seem to leave him. There are two reasons for this. First, the thought of being alone terrifies me. Second, 3 years ago, my mother needed an emergency operation and I had no money. Harold lent me what I needed and he's never let me forget it. Every single Friday, I hand over my entire paycheck to him. He says it's to repay the debt and save for our wedding, but we've been engaged for 2 years and nothing ever changes. I spend 12 hours a day scrubbing floors and cleaning bathrooms at the Morrison mansion, while Harold sits at home drinking beer and watching television. I feel completely trapped. The only good thing in my life is Thomas Morrison. He's 28, the only son of my employer, and he works as an architect in the city. He and his father can barely stand to be in the same room together. They argue constantly. But Thomas and I became friends about a year ago when he came home for a weekend visit. I was cleaning the library when he walked in looking exhausted. We started talking, and he treated me like an actual person instead of just the help. We talked for hours that day. After that, whenever he visited his father, we'd find time to talk. Thomas made me feel like I mattered, like I was worth something. Yesterday, Thomas came home for a 3-day visit. I was polishing silverware in the dining room when he walked in. He hugged me warmly, then stepped back and looked at my face closely. He could tell immediately that something was wrong. I tried to hold it together, but tears filled my eyes. I ended up telling him about the horrible fight I'd had with Harold the night before. I had asked Harold if I could see our savings account, just to know where we stood. He exploded. He screamed at me, called me ungrateful after everything he'd done for me, and threw a glass against the wall. Thomas's expression turned serious. He told me I deserved so much better than that. I whispered that I couldn't leave because I owed Harold money. I owed him everything. Thomas said firmly that I didn't owe him anything. Then he suggested we go out. I protested, saying I couldn't. But he asked me when the last time was that I did something just for myself, just for fun. I couldn't remember. Thomas said he wanted to give me one night where I wasn't working for someone else, one night where I could just be Dorothy. Something inside me broke open, and I said yes. We left at 8 that evening. Thomas drove fast with all the windows down and the music turned up loud. Our first stop was a burger place where we ordered everything on the menu: burgers, fries, onion rings, milkshakes. We ate like we were starving and laughed with our mouths full. Thomas told terrible jokes that made me laugh so hard I could barely breathe. Next, we went to an ice cream parlor and got enormous sundaes covered in chocolate and caramel. Thomas somehow got ice cream on his nose. I reached over to wipe it off, and our eyes met and held. Then we went to a nightclub. I'd never been to one before. The music pounded through my chest and lights flashed in red and blue and gold. Thomas ordered drinks, something strong that burned going down but made everything feel softer and easier. We drank and we danced. His hands were on my waist, my arms around his neck. The music was so loud we couldn't talk, but we didn't need words. His eyes told me everything I needed to know. We kept drinking, kept dancing, the whole room spinning in the most wonderful way. Thomas pulled me close and I let him. Every single moment felt absolutely perfect. I felt beautiful from the way Thomas looked at me, like I was something precious and rare. We left the club around 2 in the morning, laughing and holding each other up. Thomas said I couldn't go home in this condition. We'd go to his apartment, I could rest, and then he'd drive me home in the morning. His apartment was beautiful. We collapsed on the couch together, still talking and laughing. I woke up at 6 in the morning, still on that couch with Thomas's arms around me and my head pounding. Reality came crashing back. What had I done? I stood up quickly, panic flooding through me. Thomas woke up and tried to reassure me that we'd just fallen asleep talking, but I knew something had shifted between us. I had to go home immediately. Thomas drove me back in silence, both of us thinking about what the night had meant. He stopped outside my apartment building. I climbed the stairs on shaking legs and opened the door. Harold wasn't on the couch where he usually passed out. The apartment was strangely quiet. Then I heard voices coming from the bedroom. A woman's voice. My heart stopped. I walked slowly toward the bedroom. The door was half open. I pushed it wider. Harold was sitting on our bed with a red-haired woman I'd never seen before. They were sitting very close together. They didn't notice me at first. Then Harold looked up and his face went completely white. He said my name. I couldn't speak. The woman stood up quickly, looking embarrassed. Harold jumped off the bed, stammering that it wasn't what I thought. I told him not to bother. Then I saw what was on the nightstand: playing cards, casino chips, stacks of cash, our money, my money. I asked him quietly if he'd been gambling. His face told me everything before he could open his mouth to lie. I whispered, asking if it was all gone, all my paychecks, the wedding savings, the payments for my mother's debt. Harold tried to explain that he was going to win it back, that he had a system, that he just needed one more chance. I screamed at him to get out. The woman grabbed her jacket and rushed past me. Harold tried to apologize, tried to blame me for working too much and not paying enough attention to him, but I didn't listen. I just stood there as they left, as silence filled the apartment. My phone buzzed, a text from Thomas asking if I was okay. I looked around the empty apartment at the evidence of all my money gambled away while I scrubbed floors 12 hours a day. Everything I'd worked for wasted on card games and roulette wheels. I texted Thomas back, telling him no, but that I would be it. Then I called him and asked if I could come back to his apartment. He said, of course, that he was coming to get me right away. I grabbed a bag and started packing my clothes. I took off Harold's cheap engagement ring and left it on the kitchen table next to an empty beer bottle. When Thomas arrived, he helped me carry my bags downstairs without asking questions. He didn't say he told me so. He just put his hand gently on my back and said I was going to be okay. And for the first time in 3 years, I actually believed it.